Stroke by stroke and meter by meter, these Afghan women are weaving their fresh journey of freedom after their fortunate escape from Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. However, thoughts about their families and loved ones not lucky enough to have made their way to Sydney or other different countries continue to haunt them. The news stories of continued women's rights violations, the Taliban's return to their previous hardline modus operandi, and escalated violence in the war-torn country compound their fear. Their fears are well-founded. Thousands of miles away, in their native country, the human rights situation becomes more grim by the day. In the course of the last 1 year, the Taliban have made the country one of the most dangerous places for human life, where every single breath is considered a blessing. Under the 1-year Taliban rule that began amidst chaos and uncertainty last year, all that the country has experienced is a subjugation of rights, state-imposed restrictions, targeted killings, and a spike in the number of terror attacks. The recent bomb explosion in Kabul, targeting the Shi'ite Muslim community, was one example of how the situation in Afghanistan has panned out since the Taliban takeover.
The fact that explosions have been occurring in Shia mosques, that Shias are being targeted in Talibanized Afghanistan should not surprise anybody. Initially, because the Taliban had managed to recruit Shia commanders at the behest of Iran, people thought this would be a more inclusive Taliban. I think that has been shown to be false quite some time ago. And so if in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan, Shiites are being targeted, it's not surprising at all.
The Taliban leaders have been boasting about their self-proclaimed achievements towards restoring peace in the country. The reality on the ground, however, is a sharp contrast. Observers say the Taliban are not equipped to provide even moderate-level security to the citizens, let alone save them from any outsider attacks. In fact, they themselves have been the perpetrator-in-chief of atrocities committed against the people of Afghanistan. The Taliban are also accused of providing support to the terrorists that they had vowed to never give a safe haven to. The promises of the Doha Agreement seem to have been forgotten. The concerns over the Taliban supporting terrorist groups operating within the country are a main reason behind many countries' reluctance in providing any form of direct assistance to pull the country out of the massive economic crisis it has plunged into. It is the common man who is suffering because of the Taliban's politics and ideology. Many in the country don't have adequate food and are living in poverty. In a heart-wrenching video report by German media organization Deutsche Welle, instances of desperate Afghans selling their children due to abject poverty had come to light. There are only a handful of operational hospitals, and they are at capacity treating malnourished children. Afghanistan is staring at a major humanitarian disaster.
بله یه بازم زیاد میشه فقر و تنگدستی روز به روز در کشور ما شما زیاد شده است هر چیز زیاد شده سوء تغذیه واقعیتش زیاد میشه.
Hapless Afghans in and outside the country are making desperate appeals to the international community to lend them a helping hand. The looming hunger crisis has the potential to push the country further into collapse in the coming times. Observers say if the Taliban does not amend its ways and come up with a policy that is friendly for both its citizens and the international community, then Afghans will be staring at their darkest days. The potential for positive changes lies with the Taliban only, and it is they who will have to decide how the future of their country will unfold. Nature's fury wreaked havoc in Pakistan's southwestern region. The unpreparedness of authorities and lack of rescue services resulted in the loss of many innocent lives as flash floods triggered by heavy monsoon rains lashed through the country's Balochistan and Sindh provinces. According to the National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, 549 people, including 98 women and 191 children, were among the dead. The rains and flooding damaged more than 50,000 houses and over 2,500 kilometers of roads, leaving thousands homeless and stranded in remote villages. The rising risk of waterborne diseases in flood-hit regions has exposed the government's incompetence at handling natural calamities and their aftermath.
औकाम बाला से अपील की है कि हमें कोई ऐसा इंतज़ाम किया जाए, एक ऐसी सर्विस की जाए कि आइंदा आने वाले वक्त में जो है इस तरह के सीन ना हो जिस तरह की, क्योंकि इससे पहले किसी के जहन में नहीं था और किस तरह कोई प्लानिंग्स नहीं थी, जिस वजह से काफ़ी नुकसानात जो हुए हैं वो गैर प्लानिंग लोग जो है ना नालियों के नीचे रह रहे थे और कुछ लोग जो है ना वो ज़मींदारी के अंदर रह रहे थे, तो जिस वजह से अचानक पानी आया, क्योंकि इतना पानी कभी आया नहीं था तो किसी के तस्वर में नहीं था।
Around 50 villages in Sindh were inundated after flash floods from the neighboring Balochistan flowed over, destroying thousands of acres of agricultural land and orchards. Farmer Sajid Ali waits glumly through his flooded cotton field after days of torrential monsoon rains let up, surveying the irreversible damage. Ali's village, Masu Berberi, was one of those hit hard. Around 60 families call it home, mostly engaging in agricultural work, planting cotton, wheat, and chilies.
कोई उम्मीद नहीं है, फसल टोटल तबाह हो चुकी है, 6 एकड़, अब कोई उम्मीद नहीं है क्योंकि आसरा नहीं, पानी खड़ा हुआ 4-4 फीट इसमें।
Rana Shakil Ahmed, a village elder, described the loss as substantial and said no help from authorities had been forthcoming.
इसी कपास की फसल के ऊपर हमारे गांव वाले का सबका इन्हिसार इसी फसल पे होता है। इसी पे फसलों में हम शादियां करते हैं, घर बनाते हैं, ये क्योंकि ये कपास की जो ऐसी फसल है इस पे इनकम ज़्यादा होती है, खर्चा भी ज़्यादा होता है तो इनकम भी ज़्यादा आती है। लेकिन अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से कुछ ऐसा निज़ाम हुआ है कि अब के बारिशों ने तबाह कर दिया है, बिल्कुल बैठे हुए हैं अल्लाह के आसरे पे, बेयारो मददगार।
As Pakistan's debt and liabilities continue to strangle its economy, the handling of natural calamities and providing aid to flood victims has become a challenging task for the government. Balochistan and Sindh are the poorest provinces of Pakistan, where people are suffering due to unemployment, lack of business, poor health and education, and the deteriorating law and order situation. Flash floods have now added to their long and seemingly unending list of woes.